My name is Celia Hodges, and this is my persuasive speech. And these are my audience members. Ronald Reagan, one of the best presidents that this country has ever known, once said, "We should measure welfare success by how many people leave welfare, not by how many are added." This statement is so simple, yet it contains such a strong idea that it must not be overlooked. It portrays the entire goal of America's many welfare programs in so few words. Welfare was never intended to be the sole provider of any family that lives in this country for an extended period of time. Its original goal was to provide enough for a family to survive while they search for their own means of income. This objective has since been warped by members of society who have decided to spend their entire lives depending on the government, not just to survive, but to live comfortably. The uncontrolled regulations of welfare programs have put this country in trillions of dollars in debt. The solution is simple: restrict the things that welfare dollars can be spent on, and restrict the people who can receive it. Temperance P. Jeffrey, editor-in-chief of CNSnews.com for 8 years, published an article in August of 2014 that listed the census statistics for 2012 and put them into a little bit of perspective. In that year, there were 109,631,000 people receiving benefits from means-tested welfare programs. Means-tested programs are one that take into consideration a person's income, family size, etc. When those receiving benefits from non-means-tested federal programs, such as Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, and veterans benefits, were added to those taking welfare, it turned out that 153,323,000 people were getting federal benefits of some type at the end of 2012. The 153,323,000 total benefit takers at the end of 2012, said the Census Bureau, equaled 49.5% of the population. Subtract the 3,297,000 who were receiving veterans benefits from the total, and it leaves 150,026,000 people receiving non-veterans benefits. The World Factbook says there are 142,470,272 people in the entire country of Russia. So the 150 million people getting non-veterans federal benefits in the United States at the end of 2012 outnumbered all the people in Russia. 63 million people live in the United Kingdom and 44 million live in the Ukraine. So the combined 108 million people in these two nations was about 1,596,000 less than the people collecting welfare in the United States. There are many problems that go along with this welfare situation, but the worst thing is the dependence that it builds. T. Elliot Geiser, a graduate of Hillsdale College, wrote in his article on welfare reform, "Poverty has actually increased with federal spending on anti-poverty programs. People living near poverty or in almost poverty see the people around them getting welfare and living better than them, so they quit their jobs because they realize that they can make more money if the government supports them instead." It's an unending cycle. As an article on Occupy Theory, a website that reports political articles, stated, the longer a person stays out of work, the more their skills will decline and deteriorate. A person starts on welfare as they're looking for a job, their skills are slowly weakening, and they have no motivation to begin to strengthen their skills again because they're already receiving the money. They have no deadline or anything to work at, so they just keep sitting around and not building any of their working skills. Another downside to welfare is that it unknowingly decreases the rate of marriage in impoverished homes. Because when two people get married, their incomes are combined for all tax or welfare application purposes. If a parent remains single, they can continue to report one income and therefore continue to receive their government support. And there are many articles for welfare, or many arguments for welfare. The first being that in certain families, Without welfare, children would be the ones that would suffer. And obviously this is true. However, the same welfare that is feeding children is also setting a terrible example for them. Like mentioned in an article about food stamps on franticfoodie.com, which is a website that discusses a variety of debates in the culinary world, people that are dependent on federal aid do not want to get jobs because it could result in a loss of their benefits. This sets bad examples for their children and leaves them with unfulfilled lives. Another upside to welfare is increased access to medical care. Especially for those with disabilities, medical care can be a literal lifesaver. Without welfare, people living in poverty would not have access to any type of medical care. This again is very true. Medical care is necessary to survival. However, to be brutally honest, another great way to get proper medical care is to find a job that includes benefits and a great medical insurance plan. Now, and like I said before, I have two solutions. First of all, welfare recipients should be regularly screened in a way similar to people on parole. If the goal of welfare is to get people out of a life of poverty, which includes crime and other things, then we should take steps to make sure they are completely out of this life, otherwise have their welfare completely cut off because the money is being wasted. My second solution is to give welfare recipients only enough to live on. I worked at a grocery store for a short amount of time, and I can think of the many people that would come through and pay with food stamps for crab legs and expensive steaks and whatnot, and things that my family can't afford to buy all the time, but they can because someone else is paying for it. They don't need extravagant houses or a surplus of sweets and meats to buy at the grocery store. If food stamps were restricted to things only necessary to survive, not sodas or expensive steaks or candies, then people would be more motivated to get a job and be out of these restrictions. In conclusion, yes, welfare is necessary. There are many American citizens who need it to survive while they get back on their feet. I will never argue that because it is undoubtedly true. I am not calling for America to get rid of any and every welfare program. What I am calling for is a welfare reform. America has let our welfare supplies drive our country into debt and our people into dependent laziness. As aforementioned, welfare recipients should be regularly screened to make sure they are not abusing the money given them and be forced to live with enough to survive, not to live in luxury. As President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the first president to introduce welfare programs, once said, "Continued dependence upon relief induces a spiritual and moral disintegration fundamentally destructive to the national fiber. To dole out relief in this way is to administer a narcotic, a subtle destroyer of the human spirit." Welfare programs encourage people to sit around while the government pays for everything they need, when the goal of it should be to motivate them to make their own money. For this reason, current welfare policies must be reformed.